So good afternoon, good evening, good morning to everybody, to all my weirdos and writers out there. I'm KibbyRose. It is Wednesday, May 7th of 2025. 8 years ago, I woke up. I am Authortubes lesbian psychic stoner, and I'm here to entertain you guys. I've got a lot of things to rant about today, some things to get off my chest. My prediction about James Charles already came true, or has started coming true, or what I warned about with James Charles has already come true. There's a lot popping off and going off, guys. It is if my angels were trying to prove to me that this month is the month of exposing issues, and that next month is like even months, odd months are exposing, even months are getting even. Yeah, they're really proving it with a lot of the stuff that's happening everywhere, from James Charles to Bob Iger to Camilo Anthony to the Canadians. Oh my gosh, to cannabis legalization. There's so much that I have to rant about, you guys, today, but we do still have to get work done. So I will be working. If any of you are new, hello, welcome. How are you? The way we work around here, throw your comments in the chats, say hello, say hi, brag about your new work, pin your comment, or if you have any books for sale or anything like that, go ahead and mention it in the comments and say hello and howdy. Thank you to my rewatch crew. I love you guys. I appreciate it. I see those thumbs up come in. To all of you that are watching my shorts and are coming in from my shorts, hello and welcome. My shorts feed is a little bit different than this feed or the live feeds, because during the live feeds we technically get work done. During my shorts are kind of a little bit more of a glimpse of what we're going to be doing on a different channel. And then and what I'm going to be working on today is a whole another channel, which is the Dance Moms reaction stuff that I'm working on. I also have a couple of lists that I need to create in regards to other reaction videos. Good news, my partner or the person that I'm co-doing the channel with is in better spirits and better luck. This weekend, from what I can see, things will be even better. So we'll just go forward from there. Today, I am working on naming the pictures for Season 2, Episode 1 and Season 2, Episode 2. I have quite a pile, and then if I don't finish it on this stream, what I plan on finishing tonight is the notes that I've made already for the actual reaction video that we're doing with Cora. But this is Season 1, Episode 4. In regards to the voiceovers, I've already started Season 1, Episode 1 of the picture videos, and I have a couple, and then the fourth thing I'm working on is creating a list of other videos I'm going to react to, because I came up with an idea that I think might be really fun, and we'll see how it goes. So on that note, I hope everybody else is having a wonderful day. The last 3 days for me, I always forget how May 5th, 6th, and 7th affect me because of my incident that happened on May 3rd or May 5th that caused me to be incapacitated until May 7th. I kind of live in a little bit of a la-la land mentally for these 3 days. There's a reason that I recognize the anniversary every year, and it's simply because it's almost like my brain does this weird register. Like, I really feel detached, truthfully, during these 3 days. So if I seem a little scattered, I'm sorry. If I don't seem a little scattered, even better. So, but yeah, just so you know, I woke up today after 3 days on a ventilator, and I had to do a mental reset. Granted, evidently I woke up on the 7th, but didn't become cognitively aware until like a week and a half to 2 weeks later. But yeah, there's a lot that happened during that time that during like my brain just always seems to be in a fog for these 3 days. So on that note, for my friend Amy, because I already know that she already told me she's coming in today. Recognize me. I'm going to be listening to the Armin. If you go to my playlist, I made it public for you. And if there's anybody else watching that wants to listen along, I have made the playlist public. So you can go to, it's under my live stream music playlist. And today we are listening to the Armin van Buuren live at Oceana. Oh gosh, I can't pronounce that, you guys. I know I butchered that. It's the Ibiza 2023. So it's basically Armin van Buuren live in Ibiza, however you want to pronounce it, in 2023. And I'm starting at negative 2:23:00 mark. Exactly. Oh, that's kind of cool. All right, so that's for Amy. For the rest of you, we are going to bring up our little 10-minute timer. So for the first sprint, we do 10 minutes. For every sprint after that, we do 20 minutes. And yeah, for anybody who comes in during the sprint, go ahead and throw anything into the comments that you're working on or anything else, and or just say hi even. So, and I will see you all in 10 minutes. In 3, 2, 1. It's the end of that sprint. So I got 28 pictures named. Tracking right along with my little list here. I want, how did anybody, if there's nobody else in here. So as of right now, nobody else is getting any work done. Cora is probably asleep because she was exhausted earlier. I don't know. Amy's doesn't show up because, see, I always forget. There's certain, like StreamYard doesn't pick up or detect when people watch from a certain, like device or whatever. I think it's very interesting because people will tell me, oh, I was watching the whole time, and I'll be like, really? Because it only said there was one person in there. So StreamYard needs to figure out how to work on that better. Anyway, I am trucking right along with my work, but since we're going to do a little couple ranty rants here, because that's what I want to do here. Because first of all, I like going back and listening and basically checking, like the James Charles thing. Honestly, I didn't think twice about it. I did the little rant in my live stream, and that was really all I did. And honestly, it was one of those things where I was like, I totally forgot about it. I really didn't think twice about it. I said the rant during live stream because that's where I wanted to document it, and then I let it go. And this morning, I don't know if it's because, I know it's not because my phone picked it up, because all the websites or all the YouTube channels that reported on it are the usual YouTube channels that I watch. So Spill Sesh, T something else. There's also a Melanie Off Script that picked up on it. But yeah, James Charles evidently is in the debacles of things. But here's the thing. Who I forget. Sorry, Tracy. Yes, you were the one that brought it in, if my memory serves me correctly, in Discord. This is not the news that I guess the angels were talking about. When I checked in on it, they said this is the tip of the iceberg. This is the start of the avalanche. This is just the beginning of it. It is it's the start of it, but it's not actually what is inevitably going to happen. There's a trickle down effect that this is going to cause. And when I was tapping into it, my angels immediately said, snakes don't shed their skin to be something other than a bigger snake. So it's one of those things where I wish his pattern of behavior could prove me differently. However, if you look back at James Charles, it seems like he has manipulated the public through apologies and thinking that just by saying that he's taking accountability and not following through with actions works. It does on the public level. However, a lot of the times when I bring this stuff up, guys, I'm thinking about, guys, I crossed over and came back. I know what it's like on the other side. I know what you get judged on. And that's pretty much why I bring this stuff up, because I'm just like, he doesn't realize that just because he thinks that he's apologized and taken accountability means that he's going to not be having to take accountability once he gets there. And he can placate the public all he wants. But when it comes down to it, yeah. So the other thing that I wanted to bring up was, and we can kind of thank Tracy for a couple of these because she wanted me to look into them. Camila Anthony, there's a huge, if you guys haven't heard, so there's a huge thing going off because Camila Anthony is a young man who evidently, and I'm not even going to go in, there's a whole other topic of race that the people are discussing, but I'm not even going into that. He did something at school in regards to another classmate that he is now facing facts for. F around, find out. When I was looking into this, I hadn't said anything, but from the very beginning, when I looked in at this, there's something about this where they kept saying to me that Carmelo went out that day to cause problems. Literally, he went out literally with a mission to cause a problem. Now, with this way his parents are orchestrating and benefiting from everything that's happening, am I starting to ask questions that maybe there's a reason why his parents are defending him so hard? Do you think would it be extreme? And guys, we'll have to wait till facts come out. But would it be extreme enough to say that maybe his parents had not helped plan this, but maybe had a conversation about how, you know, all these poor Black people are getting, you know, benefits because of the fact that they are they're sympathizers out there. And if they pled their case, that they would be able to benefit from it if something happened. And because every time I look at it, there's something about it that tells me that he went out looking for trouble. He literally went out to cause a fight, to start trouble, to purposely do this. And they're preaching that. This is my opinion, again, because this is so controversial. But there's pattern of history, from what I'm hearing, when this goes to trial, pattern of history, pattern of behavior is going to expose truths. And there's something about this where there's a reason that the actual victim's parent hasn't said anything, because facts are facts. And when it all lays out plain as day in court, truth will speak for itself. And there's another thing that I always tap into when something like this happens is 99% of the time, though, the person that preaches their innocence the loudest is oftentimes the one who's guilty. If they have to advocate for themselves when nobody is attacking them or doing anything like that, because here's another thing. A group of kids driving around your neighborhood with water guns, trying to find their buddy who was doing a long distance sprint run so that they could spray him, is not threatening you, Carmelo family. Like, I hate to tell you this, but that's not threatening behavior. So when you actually look into it, no, look into the threats that these people say they've received. It's quite different than the threat, like other threats. So guys, it's one of those things where I was like, maybe I want to stay out of this. I think he's innocent, but the more that I look at it and the more that I deep dive into it and the more that gets exposed in the general public, the more comfortable I feel in saying from the very beginning, this Carmelo Anthony person, from what I can feel and from what they're telling me on the other side, and from what evidence will show inevitably, is that he went out that day purposely looking for a fight in order to gain sympathy for his family. We'll have to see what happens when it comes out in information, but that's my opinion and I'm sticking to it. On a lighter note, guys, on a funnier piece of information, this actually goes into something that Cora and I were talking about the other day, about how smart kids are these days with technology and their parents' phones. I had heard a story a long while back where a child had ended up spending a bunch of money through Amazon, basically bought all of the toys he wanted through Amazon. He was 2 years old and he had been watching his mom. She figured out that he'd been sitting on her lap while she'd been shopping all those years, and by 2 years old had figured it out. Amazon, she ended up returning half the stuff and being able to get her money back. Another similar thing happened with a 5-year-old and purchasing Smurf berries with the Smurfs game. And I remember this because I played Smurfs and it was like $2 million in Smurf berries that this kid bought. It also put in regulations in regards to games and being able to purchase things through games. Well, on a funny note, again, a child has struck again in regards to technology and spending their parents' money. A Kentucky mom recently got $70,000 worth of Dum Dum suckers delivered to her house. Evidently, her child had gotten into her Amazon, found the Dum Dum suckers, and purchased them. Luckily, she was able to work with, again, Amazon and everybody to figure out that, yeah, she didn't want them. They were able to return them. She was able to get her money back. But parents, please, I know we like to use technology babysitters for our children. However, please acknowledge that your child is smart enough to make purchases and spend your money, especially if at any time you had them on your lap while you spent money. I don't know how many times Amazon is going to refund money to people, but I thought that was a very funny, lighthearted story that we could add in there. So we are going to jump into, let me do some stuff on the technical side here, because we are going to jump into another sprint here. But this one's going to be a 20-minute one. So 20 minutes on the clock for all of my writer friends to get some work done if needed. or of course it's needed. When do writers not have work to get done or need work to get done? So I will see you all in 20 minutes. All right. In 3. Oh yeah. Come here. In 3, 2, 1. And don't forget to mute yourself. that's the end of that sprint. How did we all do to get some work done? I was able to get 54 photos named. I have 83 done out of 278. So for just season 2, episode 1. So we're trucking right along with that. And I see that Laura Nettles popped in, and that's somebody I haven't seen in quite some time. So hello, Laura. Hello, and I'm doing laundry and the dishes right now. Hey, I'm here to entertain you while you get that work done. And of course, my Wi-Fi. I see my Wi-Fi fighting with me. So please forgive me if I start sounding like a robot. I started my new job a week ago. Congratulations, hun. I'm an activities assistant at a retirement home for people with dementia. Oh, that sounds fun. Actually, I'm getting so much exercise now. It's awesome. That sounds entertaining and creative, honestly. So, why do dishes always get dirty and need to be done no matter how many times I clean them? We use paper plates for the most part in our house. That's kind of how we avoid dishes. And I should really keep my mouth shut because, yeah, I don't do much dishes except for my own. I folded and put away a load of laundry. Nice. Stripped the bed and put the sheets in the wash. Yes. Unloaded the dishwasher and now I'm loading it again. Yeah, it's a constant repeat, isn't it? It's kind of like the bed. Like, why do we sleep in a bed and dirty sheets just to wash them and put sheets back on the bed? And I argue all the time with clothes too. Like, I'm with you. Why do things have to get dirty? Why can't they just stay clean constantly, always? Especially with being OCD. I know how you feel. But congratulations. You sound like your Wednesday sounds like my Saturday. That is exactly what I will be doing this Saturday. Laundry, cleaning, stripping the bed. But I usually do a deep clean of my house every 3 weeks where literally everything from pretty much everything from the floorboards to the tops of the doors gets cleaned. Why? Because my mother raised me that way. And honestly, I kind of like it when it's clean, but I don't do it as often as she does. I think it's a good thing to have a little bit of cleanliness to you. It's not so good to be overly cleanly. But on a whole nother note, talking about cleaning up messes, okay? Or talking about a mess that needs to be cleaned up. Anyway, Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot. I went to the movies this morning and saw Sinners. Very good. Was it anything like Snow White? Since I'm about to jump into that, I'll have to look. I'll have to look into that. My mom is the moviegoer. I'm more of a movie critic. I used to work for Disney. We had stocks in Disney. We were very much. I was a Disney stan for like years. Had season passes because I lived in California. So I very much critique the movie industry. Also because my mother was the producer of musicals and everything. So yeah, I'm very good at critiquing this stuff, but I worked in a movie theater for a summer, and after cleaning up and seeing that place with the lights on, there's just a part of me that literally, when my skin crawls. If you ever watch me go into a movie theater, it'll even be the dead of summer, and I will be covered head to toe, even with a beanie, because I am just, I don't know, germaphobe. My germaphobe comes out when it comes to movie theaters. It's so funny. Nope. Former Mob and Vampires, 1932, Mississippi. Nice. Oh, that might be something. Well, we'll see what happens. I'll recommend that to my mom. I'll tell her that somebody I know said it was a good movie. Did you happen to see Snow White? Just curious, because I did a whole rant and rave on my review of Snow White, and I'm not going to get into it now because, oh my gosh, there's so much. But the drama continues. We're on like episode 10 of season 2 of Snow White drama. And it's season 2 because the movie already came out and the first half of the drama already happened. Actually, it's probably season 3 because of all the drama that happened even before, the year before. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. We're on season 3, episode 5 at this point of the Snow White drama saga. No, avoided that movie. And good thing. Well, I have some good news for you. Even though you avoided it in movie theaters, it is coming out and streaming in 2 weeks. That's how amazing it did in the theaters. That's how much money they made. They didn't even cap $2 million in loss recouping of that movie, and they spent close to $5 million after advertising and everything else. So, and then we have Rachel Zegler, who decided just, this weekend to go on a literal hate quest for Gal Gadot, who she is now saying was the problem. And her, like, it's cracking me up because Rachel Zegler is literally blaming Gal Gadot's acting ability in the movie for why it failed. Here's the thing. If you listen to my review, my only good critique of that movie was of Gal Gadot playing the witch. That was the only part of my good critique. Every other part of it, it was just, I hate to say it. And here's the thing is, I even watched the movie objectively. I tried to watch the movie as if I had never seen Rachel Zegler before. Okay. And I tried to give that movie credit, but the way they filmed it, from the songs, from the way they filmed it to the obvious, plainly obvious fake AstroTurf grass. It wasn't even AstroTurf. Hell, they couldn't even spend the money on AstroTurf. We're talking Michael's moss stuff. You guys know that green stuff you can get at Michael's that you can stick to the ground. Like we all used it when we built missions out of sugar cubes when we were in elementary school. You know what I'm talking about. That is literally what they used for grass, on top of painted something. I don't know, painted felt. Oh gosh. And then the animals, I don't know. And I loved anyway, but I thought it was interesting that Gal Gadot Rachel Zegler literally went on a hate rant spree over Gal Gadot and her acting, and that's why the movie bombed. When you hear these people need to take accountability for their own actions, and not only that, but they need to stop telling us that we need to educate ourselves, because the truth is we are educating ourselves. That's why we're critiquing them. However, they're not taking the time to educate themselves to understand our critiques. So I feel like I'm beating my head against the wall at this point with that whole situation. But I honestly thought I was done ranting about Rachel Zegler. I really did. I really thought that girl's name was out of my mouth permanently. No. And I'm sorry, but you cannot be hubbling around Los Angeles looking like a hoe bomb, walking your dog, making sure that paparazzi gets pictures of you so that we can all feel sorry for you. I don't feel sorry for people whose own mouths get them into trouble. You know why? There was times when my own mouth got me into trouble. Did anybody feel sorry for me? No, most of them pointed and laughed, actually. My ex-husband's wife. So just saying, the worst thing you can do is literally get pictures of yourself looking like a bum walking around LA with tears running down your face, fake tears, no less. Because here's the thing, you can't, one of the paparazzi literally revealed his picture, like the roll, and you can literally see her going oh yeah, and then laughing on the phone to whoever was just like, oh yeah, that was the paparazzi. I totally could. It's ridiculous. Girl, you're gonna get the level of exposure that's happening for you, Rachel Zegler. Please stop, because it's gonna destroy you, and you are too young to be destroyed this horribly. Okay. Anyway, it's bad. If you can, you should listen. You should go and listen, or you should pull up some of these things that are going on in regards to Snow White. Hey, Cora, my dear. Hello, Cora. Hey, I'm late. I had to get some body snuggles from my new. Hey, you know what's funny? I even said, I bet you're sleeping earlier in the stream. I said, I bet you Cora's fallen asleep and she deserves it. Wow. It's a big wow, simply because my whole thing is like, I kind of left it alone for long enough, but it got to the point where she was affecting the stocks. And it was just like, please stop. You're starting to affect people's money at this point. Yeah. So anyway, but I had to say that again, because it's this is a perfect example again about how the other side energies are using May to expose. They're using the odd months of this year to expose and blow the rug off again, or the next layer of the rug. And then they're using the even months to literally get even, teach lessons. So and it seems like every time Rachel opens her mouth, she opened her mouth drastically in March. April, she got she got it handed to her pretty much. When her movie failed and the critics came out, she got it handed to her. And now again, like May comes around, she opens her mouth, the backlash is happening, and it's like, honey, you got to be careful. So on that note, I've ranted long enough. And we're here to do sprints. So we are going to jump into another 20-minute sprint, which we are going to quickly rewind here. So we've got 20 minutes on the clock, and I will see you all back here in 20 minutes to give me your updates on any of the work that you've gotten done so that I can cheer you on in accomplishments. And then I'm probably going to be ranting about cannabis legalization because, guys, I did a reading for one of my friends. And if you don't invest, this might be the time to do so. So I will see you all in 20 minutes, and I'll explain when we get back. So in 3, 2, 1, and don't forget to... right, time's up. We are done with that sprint. How did we all do? Did we get any work done? I actually did that sprint. I got 44 named, 123 total out of 278 so far. So I'm hoping with this next sprint, I will be pretty, well, I am halfway done. I'll be 2/3 of the way done, hopefully, after this next sprint. So I hope you all got some work done. I evidently said body snuggles. I read it wrong. That happens. Cora corrected me in the fact that it was baby snuggles. The baby body, same thing. And then, so anyway, going right into our next little rant. This is more of a heads up because I did one of my friends had me do a psychic reading for him because he wants to know, because he happens to work in the cannabis industry, and he happens to be on the farming side of the cannabis industry. He asked me to look into the conversation that's currently going on in the government in regards to actually changing cannabis from a class A to a class C drug. When I looked into this, and he asked, because a lot of his money is in the stock market for cannabis because of the fact that, well, he's in the industry of cannabis. So yeah, you're going to kind of invest your money where, you put your money where your mouth is. So I looked at this for him, and guys, the level of skyrocketing that I see in regards to the cannabis industry, I can't even tell you right now. I could be wrong, so don't take this as like actual advisor investment. I don't do the stocks. I don't invest. I don't do any of that. I leave it to other people to do that stuff for me. However, when I did the psychic reading on this, it was the amount of catapulting and flying through the air, and just like literally, it's like they showed me that cartoon skit where like the graph, like they show the line on the graph go up, and then like it just keeps going up, and the graph like follows with it, and it was like, and it didn't stop. And every time I look at it, all I see is a moving graph. So they're showing me that it's not only recreation, it has to do with pharmaceutical, everything. It's Washington and Oregon and California, if it was actually declassified to a class C drug, would be able to ship their quantities cross country. Not only would it lower the prices on an exponential level for a lot of us who have to buy it for medical reasons, but it will also increase the profit margin by quite a bit, from going from 3 states to 50 states or 48 states, or probably 50 states. I don't know. But probably Hawaii and Alaska. Truthfully, I would love to try some cannabis that grew in Hawaii or Alaska. I think that would be some top-notch stuff, truthfully, thinking of the client in environments. Anyway, on a different note, so I highly recommend, I also I'm not saying dump everything you have into cannabis, but it's more along the lines of like, hey, if you've never invested in anything before and you got an extra $100 lying around, it might do you some good to just buy a couple stalks of cannabis, because that $100 might turn into quite a profit in a couple of years, especially if they pass it. Because here's another thing. The amount of what I'm actually seeing is that's actually going to help get cannabis reclassified is fentanyl. And here's why. And you're all probably going like, how? Well, here's why. Because fentanyl has come in, there is a new level of reassess. There's like the person that is reassessing cannabis is now reassessing like the actual levels of things, like what actually classifies it as a class A drug versus a class C. Like, what are the qualifications? Because a lot of it they're going to find out was actually based on discrimination, what people assumed of the drug, or what they just let propaganda believe them or push them into believing. And this is going to, from what I'm seeing, it's actually going to cause more than just cannabis to possibly reclassify it. And there might actually be a whole new classification brought in. And this might also help with in regards to the food additives that we're trying to get rid of. From what I can see, my angels keep telling me, and I thought this was interesting, is when it comes to legalizing cannabis, they're actually going to be restructurizing the entire classification of the way they do these things. And so pharmaceuticals, everything from pharmaceuticals to cannabis is going to change within the next 5 years, simply because of the fact that they're going to change how they classify things. And you can blame cannabis and fentanyl for this reason. It's simply because the government never has seen a drug as bad as fentanyl. And there isn't I learned, unfortunately, during the time that I was homeless, I came across the lovely pink stuff. I did not do it myself, simply because I looked at it and was like, that doesn't look right. That doesn't feel right. That doesn't seem right. However, I do know people that did. And I know how, oh gosh, like we thought that people spiraled downwards with other drugs. Like fentanyl is even 10 times worse. So I am so happy on that note that also Pam Bondi announced that they did the absolute largest bust that they've ever done in recorded history. They are getting it off the borders. They are getting it off the streets. And a lot of you, I am so grateful, because I'm not preaching to a choir. A lot of you that watch my channel have no idea, absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. And I'm grateful for that, and be grateful for that, because when there are ugly sides to drugs, fentanyl is the ugliest. I've never seen a drug as ugly as it. And the worst part is they're finding out that a lot of the drugs that are coming over the border are getting laced with fentanyl, because fentanyl is very addictive. It's highly addictive, like disgustingly addictive. And everything from marijuana, from cannabis over the border to all the way up to oxycodones are being contaminated with this stuff to get people addicted. They're trying, like, a lot of people don't understand how much the Mexican cartel hated Americans and pretty much wanted our country. There's a lot of people in the cartel who do not believe that Mexico should have lost the land in the war. Like, they believe that Texas, New Mexico, part of California should be theirs. And they're willing, pretty much, like, it's sad, but there is a political agenda amongst them. It's not just about, control and everything else. It's literally, they want to basically become their own country. And it's, oh gosh, the crazy talk that I heard from people that I thought were just ranting because they were under substances. It's amazing how much of it came into fruition in the last 5 years. And it just blows my mind that I was just like, wow, you guys were really just talking out of your butts, were you? Like, you were dead serious when you said that the higher ups had a plan. Like, holy crap. And just finding out how much it's been infiltrated, like, I straight up remember them telling me at one point, like, you have no idea. We have sleeper agents that have been put into place in different locations within the government. They're like, we've got judges, we've got politicians, we've got yada, yada, yada. And when the time is right, they will be activated. And watching some, and like, all this stuff, all these conversations of these people that I thought were just on substances talking out of their butts. Now that I see what these judges are doing, what these politicians are doing, I was like, you guys were not talking. Oh my gosh. And I bet you guys were ranting a bunch of this stuff to a bunch of people that you thought were high in a room. Well, guess what? I wasn't high. I wasn't. When they put you on Ritalin for 20 plus years, there's certain drugs that don't affect you the same way as others. And I full on remember these conversations, just remember thinking, like, I'm not crazy and I'm not out of my mind, but you guys are talking out of your mind. And literally, you guys, there's so many of us that actually survived these people, and now are watching this stuff going, and so happy, so very happy. You have, I find it, and here's another connection. I find it very interesting that as soon as they were declared a terrorist association, my stalker disappeared. Gone. Haven't had a problem. For 5 years, this person has followed me across the country. As soon as that happens, they're gone. Very interesting. So that to me also was like, that just confirms some theories I had too, doesn't it? So anyway, because I swore that they were keeping an eye on me, and there's a lot of stuff where I was like, I'm crazy. There's no way. And then stuff like that happens, and I'm like, guys. Especially with the James Charles stuff that just came out. That one blew my mind. I was like, there we go with another less than 24-hour. I also didn't know there was a bunch of stuff going off on TikTok. I don't pay attention to TikTok that much. I use TikTok literally as a filming app. I literally film and I post so that I can so that it saves to my phone so that I can post it and save it other places, because that's literally, I hate scrolling on TikTok ever since I call it toxic talk in my own world. So just so you know. But evidently there was a bunch of stuff going off on TikTok the same day that I made my prediction, but I had no idea. I really didn't. Oh, TikTok's gotten so toxic. Anyway, so now that I've ranted for a good 10 minutes, here we go. Oh, Corey came in. So you got a little bit of video editing done until I forgot about the laundry. That's okay. Go do some laundry. Laura evidently is getting laundry done too. So we've got, guys, and I did my laundry yesterday. So evidently it's in the air for everybody to get their laundry done right now. Laundry's in the air and we can feel it everywhere. Actually, no, let's not have laundry in the air. The feeling of doing laundry is in the air. I don't know. I'm making up my own lyrics. Anyway, now that I'm done entertaining you with some weird babble and nonsense songs, we're going to jump into another 20 minute sprint. This is what you guys get when I sit there and listen to Whose Line Is It Anyway for 4 hours and then jump onto a live stream. I have something up my butt. I'm sorry. Anyway, so 20 minutes on the clock and I will see you guys in 20 minutes. All right. Oh, wait, hold on. We're going to mute because guess what I forgot to do? Reset. So reset, sound, timer. We good? All right. 20 minutes. 3, 2, 1. I'll see you guys soon. All right, everyone, that is the end of that sprint. This is the end of our stream too. So first of all, if you're still watching, go ahead and throw in your accomplishments that we finished for this stream, even if it was laundry, even if it was whatever. Let me know what you finished. Let me know what you got done. I was able to get another 44 named. 44 seems to be the magic number today, with a total of 166 done so far, with out of 278. So I'm a little over halfway done. So I will be trucking along a little bit more after this stream. So for those of you that joined me for this stream, thank you so much for coming in and saying hi. I see that Cora did pop in to say she's got to get the baby to bed, which is, I understand the little toddler has to get to bed. So she's telling me to have a good night. I'm telling her to have a good night because she's been tired. She's been exhausted. I'm probably going to be working a little bit later. But yeah, probably not too late because I have to readjust my time clock because my mother, first of all, happy early Mother's Day. I'll probably say it again on Friday when we do that stream, but happy early Mother's Day. And for Mother's Day, me and my mother are going to Red Lobster. However, she made the reservation for 11 a.m. And I get up between 9 and 11. And so having fish first thing in the morning, first of all, I don't necessarily like seafood all that much. So smelling it first thing in the morning when I wake up, yeah, I'm going to need to adjust my time clock a little bit. So I'm waking up at like 7 or 8 that morning so I can at least get my coffee in before I go smelly, fishy smell, fishy. Anyway, I'm super happy because it's Mother's Day and I get to celebrate with my mom. Just smelling fish, seafood, 11 a.m. For most people, it's normal. They're like, hey, it's lunchtime. For me, I'm like, I'm getting up. But guys, I also work until 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. Like I normally am crawling into bed around 3 a.m. So just so you know, if you're wondering if you're like, why is she getting up so late? No, I stay up that late. I usually start working around 11 and then finish around 1 a.m. and then get ready for bed, like do my run down and just like get ready for bed and take a shower because I always shower before I go to bed because that helps my fibromyalgia. If you have fibromyalgia, that's another trick you can do. Take your nighttime meds, then take a shower. The heat from the shower really relaxes you. Also get shower. There's these shower steamers that are lavender, and that can help relax you too, because that's what I pretty much do every night. So for those of you that came in, again, thank you. Remember to like and subscribe. Hit that like button. Press that subscribe thing. I would love to get up to 500 subscribers so that we can do super chats. And then maybe, guys, I wouldn't have to look for a job and we can just keep doing this permanently. Keep an ear out. The other 2 channels are coming soon, so we will be letting you know how that goes. One is just going to be a shorts channel, period. The other one is going to be the full reaction channel. The shorts is going to be more of a fashion shorts channel. And like, yeah. I have a couple of friends, including Amy, who have asked me to start showing them how I put together outfits. So I figured I would start that on a shorts channel. We're getting things lined up and we'll have to go from there. I've sampled a few on my current channel and everything else. Also, follow me on Instagram because that's going to end up being the main spot where I post anything about that, the clothing, the fashion channel on there. Anyway, so put your cheers up. We're going to do our closing out cheers because I've rambled enough. Thank you for joining me for these last 2 hours. I hope you were able to get some work done. And join me on Friday. We will be doing this again. I haven't put up any future sprints. However, this is going to be a normal thing, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And if this channel if these 3 things take off, I won't have to worry about getting a job. But until then, yeah, and getting a job here in Washington as a white female is nearly impossible right now. It's like they are doing everything to fight against everything Trump wants. So wish me luck, guys. On that note, may your angels be strong, may your energies be positive, and may karma be ever in your favor. And I will see you guys at 5 o'clock on Friday. Bye.